feel like it's a bit selfish, but most politicians are like that, so what can you do?
I think he's a bit of a hypocrite.
Shocking. I do find that shocking.
You've got to have some perks, no?
So can I ask you, do you think it's good optics for the Prime Minister to be taking a box at Arsenal at the moment?
I think I think he was the first to knock all the previous prime ministers for taking freebies on wallpaper, on various other things. So I think he's a bit of a hypocrite to now take all his freebies, the box, but the clothes for his wife and all that sort of thing. So no, I don't think it's a good look at all.
How do you feel about the Prime Minister accepting free gifts? Do you think that's okay?
I think in the climate of politics that we've had over the past 14 years, I think it's very minuscule what we're talking about here, I mean, he is the Prime Minister of a country. I'm sure previous Prime Ministers have a lot more, salubrious gifts than we're talking about now, Free tickets to a match, etc., etc. What do you want him to queue up at the turnstiles? Should he do that? I don't think so.
I think there's reason to be concerned in that I think Keir Starmer came in on a mandate of wanting to clean up politics. And I think a big part of that is showing that he's not going to be influenced by people who have large amounts of money. And I think there's definitely reasonable concern if he's taking these kind of gifts that there's going to be something expected back from him.
No, personally, I don't think he should, because they already get don't they get bonuses and other things? And I just feel like that money could go towards other things, and the cost of living crisis is kind of insensitive. That's how I feel about it. I don't think he should at all.
Because he's always portrayed himself as whiter than white over the last 3, 4, 5 years, then yeah, I think there is a lot of pressure on him to be that, and he simply isn't.
I don't think he has to be whiter than white, but I think what we're talking about is, a few tickets to a match. I believe it was tickets to some, what was the name of the girl?
They're all Arsenal, so he's going to have an £8,000 a week box now.
Yeah, well, sure, In the bigger picture of things, I don't think it's very significant. I really don't, And I think they're just really, they're our power now after being 14 years in office, Conservatives. And I think it's really a bad attitude for them to come and start slinging mud at this, like these trivial things, I think, myself personally.
Do you know what? It's just tickets. It's just tickets. I think it's okay. I really do. I can only think what I think, do you know what I mean? Tickets is fine. Big donations, but can go into the country and help, the homelessness, and no, it's not acceptable. Definitely not. But free tickets, fine. Do you know what I mean? Come on, you've got to have some perks, no?
We found out today that he's received the most donations of any MP since 2019.
I find that shocking. I do find that shocking. I'm not sure I necessarily believe it, because as far as I understand, he's probably been more open about his donations, and I can't believe for 1 minute that he's had less donations thrown his way than Boris Johnson did. Don't believe that for 1 minute. You'd have to show me the figures. So I'm not 100%. I take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because I think he's a Labour Prime Minister for the first time in God knows how many years, and the media, not you, but the media generally are out to get him. They're out to throw anything they can at him. But he's left himself wide open, and I can't really defend taking freebies, as particularly on that scale. So on the one hand, right, it doesn't look good, and I mean I'm a Labour Party member, right, and I'm a socialist and a trade unionist, and I find it a little bit offensive. I'm not a Puritan though. I'm just a little bit wary that this is just going to be used. As I say, the Labour Party has just finally got back into power, and it's like everyone's going to be looking to throw mud at them. He shouldn't have left himself wide open to this. But I'm not sure, that I'm going to completely damn him because of it on a personal level. Really, I want to see what his reaction is going to be. Actually,
I read that, and I think, I mean, I'm not a very political person, but I really thought that Labour Party would spoil the economy and everything else that they touch. I thought it would take 3 or 4 years rather than 3 or 4 months.
Gotten bad already?
Yeah, definitely. I think people are really annoyed with the state of the country at the moment, and it's being pinpointed towards the current government, and in particular Starmer.
Do you think that Boris Johnson and his behaviour, do you think that that's sort of poisoned politics? Do you think
it has. It's dragged the person who does everything right in this country The person who pays the taxes does all the right things. It's dragged them, they've thrown their hands up in the air and say, why our leaders are supposed to lead us from the front? And they're dragging us into this, sending these colleagues up for bottles of wine, etc., when he was telling everyone to keep quiet during the pandemic, stay indoors. And he's had his sidekick, I don't know what his name was, Dominic Cummings. Yeah, I mean, he drove 300 miles. People were being fined by police for going 5 miles outside the house, you know. I think it was class. He dragged politics into the mire, Boris Johnson, and all the mob he had with him, Liz Truss included, yeah. I mean, they really dragged the decency in politics. I know, it's kind of hard a decent politician now, you know.
In the situation that you're in, do you think it's bad politics then for the Prime Minister to be taking gifts?
Yes, definitely, 100%. Because I feel like while students are suffering, trying to figure out how to pay their rent, like, you know, and obviously companies do perks for students. They know how students do suffer. So you're fully aware of this, and you're using that money to give gifts to a person that's already making £160,000, whereas you could invest that into helping students out. I just feel like it doesn't make any sense, but, you know, like I said, the state of this country, that's what we have to deal with.
I think the timing of a lot of these stories does not look great. You know, I think I'd personally be concerned that the policy around the winter fuel payment, one, isn't economically necessary. You know, it's going to bring in perhaps $1 billion, whereas it can have like a real negative impact on a lot of people. And when you're sort of really giving this message of like, we've all got to really sort of go through some hardship in order to get through to brighter times, to see somebody who's on, you know, in the top 1% of earners taking these kind of things, it's not good political optics.
I don't think that is fair, because I feel like everyone should be able to like have heating in their house. So I don't think that is fair.
There's a housing crisis period. A lot of people are dealing with like mildew and like mold in their houses. A lot of, like, you've seen the news, kids are dying, and like, I feel like no change has happened. So yeah, I feel like as a young person, it's like quite, like, it doesn't feel hopeful. I feel like a lot of people are more like, it's a bit shit, but we're just, you know, going through the motions, basically.
So what sort of things have you noticed? Is it things like the winter fuel payments being taken away?
Well, that's outrageous that he's done that. And I mean, like, I've got my old bugger's pass here in front of me, and his talk about that's going as well. It's just not what you expect from a Labour government. So yeah, I think that's the kind of the headline grabbing things, but there seems to be a lot of other things as well.
I think, you know, because he's a Labour Prime Minister, we expect sleaze from the Tories. And when I say we, I mean the electorate. Right? People will tolerate things from the Tories they won't tolerate from Labour, because they see the Tories as their fundamental philosophy is every man for himself. You know, it's all about the free market. It's all about clambering over each other to reach the top. Right? That is their fundamental ethos, which they justify because they say it's good for the economy, blah, 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 trickle-down economics and all that nonsense. Different standards apply to Labour leaders, and the different standards apply to the Labour Party. So what I say in defence of Keir Starmer is I think the reason that this has become a big story is because he's been open from the very beginning. Had he been hiding these things, you know, it would have looked a lot worse. So there, you're right, there are double standards, but at the same time, no, it doesn't look good taking, £100,000 in donations in however many years. No, it doesn't look great.